So although you're worried about fluctuations, what you have to remember is the wave also rides in your favor. It's not always going against you. Sometimes it coasts with you and brings you higher than you've ever been before. Hi everybody, it's Alex from Guiding Creatives. This is the community to help creatives thrive in the gig economy. Whether you're a freelancer, you're trying to start your creative career, you're looking for time, energy, money, opportunity, community, whatever you're looking for, that's what I'm here to help you do. I'm here for the multi-passionate, and today we're going to talk about probably one of the cons of freelancing or cons of being a creative. This is not a con that doesn't exist in other areas, it's just that you don't usually bear the responsibility of it. It's about the fluctuation of clients and orders or the instability of income. This is a terrifying factor of freelancing, but it's not something you can just ignore. You have to learn to ride the waves, and you have to learn to protect yourself. You have to learn when to jump on the surfboard and when to get off. Hopefully that analogy works, but you have to practice and prepare. What I really want to make clear here is that this is not a big con to why you shouldn't do it. Like, I'm not telling you that this is so negative or this is such a terrifying, hard thing to deal with that you shouldn't do freelancing, because you should. Every business deals with fluctuations. It's just that if you are not at the top and you're on a salary, you don't have to worry about it because they're paying your salary no matter what their fluctuations are. But when you're self-employed or you're up high or you have that responsibility of the flow of your business and your profit and your revenue, it impacts you directly, and it can be a deterrent. It can cause you to not want to take this chance on yourself. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about this taboo topic or this scary topic just so we can feel a little bit more comfortable about it. And then I'm going to offer you solutions or ways that you can protect yourself, ways you can embrace it, and ways you can use it. Because you can't just ignore it. You can't go over it, you can't go under it, you can't go around it, you just have to go through it and brave the storm. Something to remember, because when we talk about fluctuations, we're always fearing the negative. But fluctuations also mean a rush of orders. And I'll give you examples in my experience itself, but like, I have months where I have to raise my prices and tell people no because it goes crazy. So although you're worried about fluctuations, what you have to remember is the wave also rides in your favor. It's not always going against you. Sometimes it coasts with you and brings you higher than you've ever been before. And depending on the services you offer, where you offer them, how well you're known, how experienced you are, all these little factors that make you your individual creative self can control how big or small these fluctuations are. Sometimes it goes from 0 to 100 to 0. Sometimes it stays around 50, maybe it goes to 60, 40. Sometimes it's these huge swings. Sometimes it's these small swings. Maybe it's just 1 month that's bad. Maybe it's just 1 month that's good. It really depends on everybody differently. It's not perfect for one niche because, a lot of niches have trends with the quarters, but there's also going to be a shift or difference in your experience level, or if you're on multiple platforms, if you have a global clientele, or if you are just local, things like that. And something we forget is that you're doing client-based work. You are working with real human beings. And if you have studied any kind of science, any kind of anything, when you're looking at data, the worst bit of data that you got to deal with is the unpredictability of humans. We have free will. And boy, does it ever make us unpredictable. Sure, there are trends, there are habits, there are things that it's probably going to happen this way. It's happened this way for so long, it's probably going to happen again. But everybody could just decide to stop wearing jeans. People can just start to say, I am only wearing a skirt, I'm never wearing jeans again. Then your jean business is donezo. And I know that sounds so wild and out there, but it is plausible. That's what you have to remember. We're dealing with humans. We're dealing with the unpredictability of humans. And every individual human have their own factors to consider. Right now, freelancers are struggling a little bit on top of the recession or just the global economy, as well as AI. There's a little bit of things going on there. It's a little bit of an issue, but we're all learning to navigate it together. It's hard to predict individual humans, but we can look at market trends. Something I want you to remember is most often things fluctuate with the market. I often see the new year, when we're getting into the new year, there's a bit of a rush because people are like, it's a new year, I want to reach these goals, let's dive into it. But in some other niches, it actually might slow down because people are just broke from Christmas. It really depends what you're on. What I notice a lot is from September to December, E-commerce stores or just in-person stores, those are my top clientele because they are trying to sell. It is time. Black Friday is coming up, holiday shopping is coming up. They need work done. But in January, I usually have just like creators, like YouTube creators, bloggers, because they're going to reach their goals this year. That's what they want to do. Sometimes it's not even like the amount of work I'm getting, it's the type of work I'm getting that fluctuates. And then I often see approaching quarter one, the end of it, you get a little bit less orders because people are trying to make profits. And then in quarter two, when they're like, okay, we didn't hit our numbers in quarter one, or we're not on track to hit our yearly goal, they ramp up in quarter two. A trend that you'll also see almost everywhere, it exists in all my gigs, it exists on social media, is summer slows down. When the weather is nicer, everything slows down. Like Pinterest, the lowest points are in the summer. And the thing you need to remember is the lowest points are still sometimes good. In a society that strives for profit, and exponential growth all the time, we often say things are low or dropped or whatever. 1 million active users is not a bad number to have. It just might not be like your usual 5 million. I'm just pulling numbers out of the air. I don't know what they are. But you get what I'm saying. It's not you. Like if you are not getting orders at a certain point and you think, oh, I did something wrong, I made someone mad, I did a bad job, look at what time of year it is. Look at what people are posting. Are people active? Maybe you have a returning client at like every 2 weeks, but they're not. You can stress out about it, or you can wait 2 more weeks and maybe they'll message you and say, hey, I had this going on. Hey, I need to break because of my budget. Or maybe even like see them on social media and they're not posting. They're just not active right now. You can't take everything personally, especially fluctuations. We often forget that fluctuations can be a gift to us. It can be scary, but it can be a gift. I'm going to now dive into what we can do in the highs and lows so that we can protect ourselves. But I do before want to just acknowledge that if you are not a well-established freelancer or you're just starting, you can have a plan B. So you can start working part-time. You can start working casual with a company. If you know the summer's going to be slow, you work part-time for the summer. I've recently stopped doing plan Bs because I've established myself enough that I just need to dive into my business head-on 100%. But there was a time when I knew I was going to need some extra money. I knew things were slowing down a little bit, so I took a job. There's no harm in doing that. That doesn't make you less of a creative. It doesn't make you less of a business owner. If anything, it's a smart business decision. But the issue with that is if you are established enough that you can embrace the low points, but you choose to work for other people, you're actually setting yourself behind because you didn't take advantage of the growth that can occur when you have a little bit of extra time. So now let's dive into it. During your high points, the most important thing you can do is pay attention. This is where my business took off. So I started freelancing. I opened up my Fiverr account in 2020. I did not touch it for a year and a half probably. Then I watched Alex Fasulo's video and her workshop, and I optimized my gigs, got my first order. Ever since then, freelancing girl. So I was making a decent income from 2021 to 2022. Decent. Not great, not stable, not encouraging, but decent. And then in 2022, March hit. And this is when I learned that March was going to be the craziest of all of my years. Because March is when we're heading into the second quarter. And this is when everybody was like, we need to get on this. We need to fix ourselves. Quarter one, if they don't go all out and you start to see oh, I could have done better in this quarter, then they will work to do better. They know that they have to jump on it now because it's no good to wait for the third quarter. You might as well start in the second one, right? We're approaching halfway through the year. If we want to reach our goals, we have to dive in. So that was really, really busy for me. But I mean busy to the point I was in March. That's the most money I've ever made freelancing in my life to this day, still. Because I had 3 orders due a day. When I tell you I was waking up 6 a.m. and going to bed midnight or later, I was so stressed out. It was not a good time. You can look back at it and I can look at the money I made and be like, wow, that was awesome. Mentally, not awesome. But it was because I wasn't getting that many orders, so I was still pricing myself competitively. And that's also why I got so many orders, because I was pricing myself competitively and I was in demand. One thing you can do here, and I always encourage you to do, is to raise your prices. And if you're way too scared to raise your prices, increase or extend your delivery time. Because if you get too overwhelmed during the high periods, if you get too overwhelmed, it can actually cost you your reputation. If you have a bad order because you can't deliver, you have a mental breakdown because you took on too much, or maybe you can't attend meetings to secure clients that are going to be there during the low points. If you are overwhelmed, that's not good either. And what I've often found is when I need things to slow down, I raise my prices, I extend my delivery time. Even when things are low, I'm still getting orders for that price and that timeline, or people are paying for rush orders. If you're like me and you're afraid to raise your prices, it's a really great time to push yourself to do that. So I definitely recommend that. Another thing to do during this time is to really pay attention. Determine which services, which time of year are excelling. You can start mapping out your year. So from 2022 to 2023, I knew what to expect in March. I knew what was coming. I was ready for it. I had a pretty smooth March. I can't even remember it. I think March was pretty smooth. Actually, I was a little bit busy, but it was overall pretty smooth. So you can time it. And if you are somebody who does art, maybe you do decoration pieces, you know that wedding season is going to be crazy for you. Photographer, wedding season, crazy. Note when you start getting these orders and when these orders start playing out. Also pay attention to when all these orders are done. For example, so I had from March to about June, I had a rush of orders. It was just nonstop. It kept going. March was the craziest, but that wave lasted. But in the summer, it slowed down because one, it's summer. Two, people are saving up for the end of year Hail Mary, the end of year holiday season. So it slowed down. So I also had to know when I should expect low orders. So then when I didn't get orders, I was like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with what I offer. I'm still doing a great job. It's just the market. It's just the clientele. It's just the humans. So pay attention, because then you can also make note, and you can also find, pro tip, you can also find other services in this niche, in this area that you can offer during this time to capitalize on it. So for example, if social media is going crazy at this time and you only offer social media management, maybe you start offering a content calendar. Maybe you start offering keyword research, something that complements it and doesn't stress you out too much, but you can capitalize on, because you do also want to take advantage of this. But again, make sure you're not overwhelmed, because if you are not ready for this, I was ready for this year's March, I set myself up, I knew what to expect. 2022 March, that hit me like a ton of bricks. That was so hard. And also think about tax season. So tax season, I always see a drop, which makes me panic because it's tax season and I have to pay taxes. And I'm like, oh, I'm not getting any orders. My business is going to go bankrupt. Calm down, Alex. It's tax season. People don't have a lot of money to throw around right now. They'll be back. And guess what? They came back. So another thing you can do is work on your craft, encourage repeat clients. So when you're getting a lot of orders, this is your time to, one, really practice how fast you can do something, how good you can do something, how good you can communicate something, and how good you can deliver on something. Really work on it, because the best time for you to work on your craft is when you're doing it, when there's an expectation, when someone is expecting something from you. So you take yourself seriously, you work on it. Maybe you learn how to make it better. Maybe there's a lot of frequently asked questions all these clients are asking. You start including it. Pay attention, work on your craft. And also, since you're getting so many orders, this is also your time to make good impressions. This is your time to offer discounts to repeat clients if they come back. If you know that in the summer you're going to have a low point, and this is May, they just had an order, you say, if you come back within the next 3 months, I'll give you a 25% discount. If you know you're expecting a low period and you would like to make sure or increase your chances of getting some more money, you can offer this. You can also get raving reviews, build your portfolio. Take advantage of the high parts by also doing a good job. And this is why you also don't want to be overwhelmed, because if you're overwhelmed, you can risk bad reviews. You can risk doing everything super rushed, so you're actually not honing your craft, you're hurting it. You can risk not paying attention to what you're doing and just going on auto mode and not actually being indulged in it, so you don't learn about yourself, you don't learn about your business, you don't grow from it. You want to take advantage of this. If you're going to be working hard, you want it to work for you as well. And then, of course, track your income. See how much you made, how much you worked, where can you raise your prices, but more importantly, just understand that you can look back on your year, see when your busiest, most successful month is, and what your peak was. And ask yourself, is this suitable? Does this make sense? Is this what I'm happy with my peak being? Because if not, raise your prices, right? If you knew March was crazy and you worked double time, but you still undervalued yourself, you need to fix that. Don't wait for another year to come around. Fix it now. So now we're going to talk about what to do during low income points, or when the fluctuation goes from woo, 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 and the roller coaster comes down. What do you do? Don't panic. That's number one. Don't panic. During low points, even if you get scared, do not lower your prices. I don't know if I've spoken about this yet, but I created a social post, but we'll talk about it. It's the paradox of raising your prices. You raise your prices because you want less clients, because you want more time. But when you get less clients, you panic. But if you're charging enough, one client can replace 4. So instead of getting 4 orders over 2 weeks, you get 1 over 2 weeks. It sounds scary, but it pays the same. So it's just a little mind trick you have to remind yourself. So during low points, don't panic, don't lower your prices, relax. Do a spending freeze. This is the biggest piece of advice. If you are somebody who is a little bit loosey-goosey with spending your money, I try to be very, very strict, but then I am very impulsive, so it's a little bit difficult. Do a spending freeze. If you know a low period is coming up, plan for that. Look at the month before what you're spending money on, make a budget, say, okay, this month I'm not doing this, I'm not spending this, I'm setting a limit on this, I don't need to invest in this month, I don't need to buy this month. Do a freeze, because you know you're going to be at a low point. You can't control the clients that come in, not directly. You can't control who presses order, so control what you can, which is your own spending. Try to take advantage. During this time and the spending freeze, any investment you're making into your business, make sure it has a ROI. Don't just buy a new notebook. If you have the option to buy a new notebook or have somebody write a blog post for you, get somebody to write a blog post for you. I get having a notebook is great, but that's not going to help you with ROI. Focus any investments on having a return. Do a faster delivery time. A lot of times people will purchase if you do things faster. Not everybody wants to purchase a rush order. Not everybody wants to wait a week. If you're at a low point and you're not overwhelmed with orders anyway, you can lower your time, and you can always extend it if it starts getting overwhelming. But if you are really desperate for orders, instead of lowering your price, lower your delivery time. Make it a really fast turnaround. Do 24 hours if you really, really need to. Judge it based on the service and what time you have. You can also offer sales and discounts. So if you're on a platform like Fiverr, you can do coupons. I think it's only for Seller Plus, but that's an option. You can message people and say, for the month of June, I'm having 10% off, I'm having 20% off, I'm having 50% off, I'm having buy one, get one, all of that. Offer sales and discounts, because somebody might just need to see a good deal. You know how you feel when you see a good deal, so offer it to them. It doesn't hurt to try. The worst they can say is no. Take this time to market yourself. If you've been so busy that you haven't been promoting yourself on social media, you haven't been networking, you haven't been updating your LinkedIn, you haven't been, updating your portfolio, this is the time to do it. Market yourself. Start collecting leads. At the very least, you can set yourself up for success when people are ready to spend again, instead of just waiting around and making no progress. Don't just twiddle your thumbs. Use this time. And if you want to use this time to relax, if you're low point, you are so stable from the month before, you want to relax, you can do that. It's not something I wrote down because it's not something I practiced myself, but it's something you can do. You can extend your services offered. Maybe you do a content calendar for somebody. That's what you offer. Maybe during a low period, you also throw in 7 posts for free. You create 7 posts, a week worth of posts for free. Because if people see that they're getting something more for less price, instead of you actually lowering your prices, you're adding on a little bit of extra work. Don't do too much, but a little bit of extra work that actually just might make the sale. And on top of extending individual services, look at your services as a whole. What do you offer? Say you do wedding photography. Not a lot of people are getting married right now, so you're having a very big low point and you're a little bit nervous. So instead of extending a service on the wedding things, you can extend your services as a photographer. And it doesn't have to be like maybe you go do sports shots, maybe you do family pictures, things like that. Or you can offer that you go through the photos and help people. Maybe you do editing, maybe you pick the best ones that should be in the portfolio or the delivery. Offer smaller services that can help other people. Think about what people would outsource. Because if you are not equipped to do winter photography, maybe you can help a winter photographer. Make sure you are noting your low points as well. I talked about how important it is to know when your high points are and how much you make. It's just as important to know your low points. But the thing I'm going to end on that I'm going to stress is if you have low points, just take some time to learn. Take some time to expand your brand, expand your offering, expand your services, make them better. You can do this in practice as you're actually doing it, but this is a good time to learn. So maybe you take a course. There are a lot of cheap ones out there now. There are a lot of free ones. Maybe you binge a podcast, you binge a YouTube playlist that teaches you something. Maybe you start putting a new service out there. Maybe you start planning for a new service. Maybe you look for a backup plan or an emergency plan if you need to get a job really quick. Use your downtime. It's okay to protect yourself. It's okay to plan ahead, and it's okay to have fluctuations. Everybody does. It's very, very hard to have a constant flow of clients. And even a constant flow of income doesn't mean a constant flow of clients, right? Everything fluctuates. We're humans at the end of the day. This isn't a machine. We're humans. And it's unpredictable. And that's scary, but it can also be very rewarding if you ride the wave and you learn how not to panic, how to protect yourself, and how to improve yourself and your brand and your creativity. And listen, maybe you rest, maybe you take a trip, maybe you go out in nature. You don't have to do everything about work, but I just wanted to give you some tools to equip you with order fluctuations because it's normal. You don't need to be scared of it, and I'm here for you. So thank you so much, and stay creative.